Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. If you're new around here, my name is Alessia and I make videos every Monday related to writing and publishing. So it is halfway through November and that means that National Novel Writing Month is almost over for 2020 and I hope it is going well for everybody who is participating this year. Writing a first draft is super hard, especially if you are doing it in a month. But regardless of whether you are writing a first draft in a month or 4 months or even a year, it is very difficult and some writers never even get past this step. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to talk about my 10 tips for writing a great first draft and how to write it fast. So if you are struggling and you are taking part in National Novel Writing Month, or you just are interested in learning how to get through your first draft, then please keep watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and follow my Instagram account to keep up with me and all of my writing and publishing pursuits. So step number 1 is to have a really organized and detailed story outline that is nearby at all times. So if you are taking part in National Novel Writing Month, ideally you already would have outlined your novel and prepped during October. But regardless of whether you are taking part in this competition or not, you have to have a very organized and very detailed story outline before you even start. And this outline should of course include the breakdown of your story's plot, your character arcs, and especially important scenes that you need to highlight in your first draft. Ideally, you should be taking your novel's huge story outline and you should be breaking it down even further into smaller, more manageable chunks. So you should be highlighting what you are going to be writing each day. So for example, maybe one day you are going to write the beginning of your character's backstory. If you start writing and you don't find that you have a really detailed outline and you're starting to get lost or confused, this means that your outline isn't strong enough and you should just go back to your outline and you should possibly consider putting your first draft on hold. Step number 2 is to schedule your writing sprints and your writing space in advance. So I've talked about this before, but having a really stable and consistent writing routine is one of the most important parts of writing a book. Ideally, you need to create a writing schedule that best fits with your life. So if you're in school, you obviously can't write your book during school, or if you have a 9-to-5 job, or you have kids to look after. It will vary depending on who you are as a person, and of course what life stage you're in and other personal extenuating circumstances. Especially during the month of November, instead of waking up and figuring out what time you have to write, having a writing schedule set and ready to go will just automatically put your brain into the writing mood, and you know exactly when you're going to be writing and where you're going to be writing, and you'll have more time to think about what's really important, such as what you're going to be writing about, or how your book is going, or even what you are eating for breakfast that day. I always recommend to use website blocking apps such as Freedom that will allow you to schedule your writing time every single day, and during this window it will automatically just block off the entire internet or other apps on your phone such as Instagram or Twitter that can distract you. And of course, make sure your writing space is clean at the end of each day. Clutter really clouds the mind, so make sure it is free of all distractions and unnecessary objects, and make sure that this is your space and that is dedicated to your writing. Step number 3 is to accept that your first draft will suck. Every single writer out there will tell you the same piece of advice. I hate to break it to you, but your first draft will be pretty bad, but that's okay because you just have to accept that it's going to be bad and not your best work. And you have to remember that writing a first draft is the hardest part. No author ever likes writing a first draft. we all much prefer revising and editing, so just think about how things will only get easier from here. It's a lot easier to work with something instead of absolutely nothing at all, and if you are a perfectionist like I am, you have to keep a growth mindset about your first draft. And what this basically means is that good writing is a learned skill, and it comes with practice and many hours of dedication. So your first draft isn't going to be perfect and amazing, right off of the bat, and you have to work towards it, and this is a learned skill, and it is something that we all have to do. Step 4 is to not edit your writing while you are writing. I know it's tempting and super satisfying to read back that juicy romance scene that you just wrote, but trust me, resist the urge and the temptation to do this. Not only does this take up a lot of time because suddenly you are editing instead of writing, but it actually disrupts the creative process in your brain. Suddenly your brain goes from writing to revising, and these are two totally different things and thought processes, and it can severely hinder your creativity. It can also really hurt your workflow, and it's often very hard to continue writing after you have paused to edit something that you have just written. So don't do this. Every single writer will tell you the same thing, and I'm just here to remind you about it again. But feel free to edit your work and laugh at all the hilarious things that you wrote in the revising process. Step number 5 is to write FC as a placeholder word when you don't know something. When you're writing a first draft, you are obviously focused on the writing process, and sometimes it's easy to forget minor things such as the name of a city or the name of a car that's in your book. Instead of wasting time and going on Google to research whatever you've forgotten, just write FC as a placeholder word. And this means fact check, and it basically will act as a little note to yourself that you need to go back and search for the proper name once you have time to do this in the revising stage. Step number 6 is to create daily mini milestones. Writing a first draft is a huge and often intimidating process, and breaking this down into smaller, more manageable tasks can be super helpful in completing your goal. You can obviously create these daily milestones based on your specific book and your timeline. So for example, if you are participating in National Novel Writing Month, then your daily mini goal can be the word count of 1,667 words. However, if you are watching this in the future and November is over, you can still create little small daily milestones. What I like to do is set a little goal for myself of, maybe reaching a chapter break or reaching the end of chapter 3, for example. And this will help you because you will stop at a logical spot at the end of each day, and it will make it a lot easier to just pick up the next day and start writing. Step number 7 is if you are having trouble writing a specific scene or even a chapter, then just skip it. Books that do not need to be written in a consecutive order, as long as you have a really strong outline that you can always refer to if you ever get lost. And of course, certain scenes or chapters in your book will be more exciting to you than others. If you find you are experiencing writer's block or you're running out of ideas on chapter 1, then you can just skip it. If you want to skip chapter 1, which is all about your character's tragic backstory, and jump to chapter 25, where your character has an epic battle with your antagonist, then you can go ahead and do that. Write whatever you feel most inspired and most motivated to do for that day, because odds are when you are writing something that you feel really inspired by, you will end up writing a lot more, and your writing actually will be a lot better. So don't be afraid to skip ahead or skip back when you are writing a first draft. Step number 8 is to stop to take breaks whenever you run out of ideas or whenever you feel burnt out. It's a really hard process to write a first draft, and it's super easy to get creatively exhausted or just feel burnt out when you are writing, for so long every single day. Sometimes in very special and rare occasions, it's okay to just stop writing and not meet your daily milestone goal and to just pick up the next day. If you continuously work even when you feel creatively exhausted, this can literally manifest into major feelings of stress and anxiety, which can even turn into physical symptoms. For me, I get really bad headaches, so it is okay to take a break when you feel like you need to. And you of course should take a substantial break, so take a break that is more than 10 minutes, and ideally try to re-inspire yourself during this time. So read your favorite book or watch your favorite TV show and just let your mind relax, and you will find that it will be much easier to go back to writing, and you might even get some new ideas. Step number 9 is to create a reward or celebration that you will look forward to once your first draft is finished. Creating rewards is one of the best self-motivators out there. Ideally, you should make this reward or celebration strong enough and big enough that it will actually motivate you to finish writing your first draft. This reward, of course, will differ for everyone. Maybe you can book a reservation at a really special restaurant or cook your favorite food. And for me, my personal favorite is to book a nice long spa day after I finished my first draft. Step number 10 is to join writing communities to keep yourself accountable. Join writing groups on social media platforms such as Reddit or Instagram or even Facebook, where you can interact with other writers and you can share advice and ideas and talk about your writing projects. Sometimes there is nothing more motivating than FOMO, which is the fear of missing out. Sometimes I'll be scrolling these writing groups and I'll see a post by someone who has recently finished their first draft or even published their book. Seeing posts like that give me major FOMO of not completing my own book and missing out on that incredible milestone. So sometimes social pressure is just what you need to keep going, and it can really be a driving force behind writing your first draft. So those are my 10 tips on how to get through your first draft and fast. At the end of the day, writing a first draft is an incredibly intimidating experience, and I'm going to say most, if not all, writers struggle with it. But like I said in the beginning of this video, this is the hardest part of writing a book, and things will only get easier from there. If you follow my 10 tips, and of course you have a passion and a love for your book, you will finish your first draft, and trust me, you will feel so proud of yourself and happy that you put in all of that work. Good luck to everyone who is participating in National Novel Writing Month this year. You guys are halfway through and the end is in sight, but for everybody else, I hope this video was helpful, and I will see you next Monday for a brand new video. Bye!